Death of a Dream community. The dream. The real dream. Let's dive into our great thing and get started that way. So, my great thing from yesterday, I've been kind of beating myself up a little bit lately, and today I feel a little bit lighter, and I know that it's hormonal. So, anyone who struggles with the highs and lows of their hormones throughout the month, and I have been, in a process to better understand my highs and lows, to make sure that I'm staying up and recognizing when they're coming, and I've been getting better, but it doesn't mean that I'm perfect at it, and I still get kind of blindsided, and so I definitely need to do a better job of tracking things. But I do want you to know, if you've had babies, if you haven't had babies, that things just change, and I think it comes with age, it comes with child rearing, it comes with not child rearing, all the things, right? Like, our bodies are amazingly insane, the things that they do. So what I want to tell you is that keep track of what's going on, of when things are coming up. I'm going to download an app today just so I can even more stay on top of it. And almost, and I think that this is what I'm kind of messing with, or what I was thinking about yesterday, is maybe we just take those, maybe those are just days off, and not days off, right? Like, we're still going to do the podcast, we're still going to do the things, but maybe those are research days where I kind of just allow myself time to sit, and not accusatory time, right? Not like, oh, Hannah, you're being lazy, like I was yesterday. Hannah, you're being so lazy. I think our bodies tell us what we need, and so much of my flux and influx of energy and excitement goes along with where I'm at in my flow of the month. And so that's what I've been trying to keep a better eye on, and heads to all women out there trying to figure out how their body works. And not enough people talk about this side of it, right? Like, we get it, the flow sucks, the cramps suck, all of that. But on the other side of that, and this I think is what maybe needs to be more destigmatized than let's figure out and just talk about our periods, let's go ahead and talk about the mental mind shift that you take. Like, the extreme highs and lows. There are days leading up to this starting where I don't even recognize myself anymore. And that's the side that we need to start talking about. That's the side that people need to recognize. And after you have kids, I don't know if it gets worse. I don't know if it gets heightened. I don't know what happens. Obviously, a lot of things. But the roller coaster is insane. And so I have to start keeping better track of it. I now know that there's about 2 days a month where the lows are really low. And I think those 2 days I need to just structure better so that I don't attack and work myself into kind of a shame spiral where I'm not productive at all. And it's not like everybody has that option where you plan your own days, where you work your own schedule around what you have going on. But could you figure out how to work within that and give your body what it's asking for, right? A lot of times my body's just asking for rest and to just tap out. And I think so many times that's because of the intensity that my brain works at. It's not I don't think it's out of question for my body to be like, hey, sis, we need a day or 2 or 3 or 12. Just give us a break, for goodness sakes. And so I think for me, it's about tracking that and keeping better focus and attention on that. And if you're kind of early in life, or even if you're later in life, I think there isn't really enough focus on this. We laugh about the cramp side. We laugh about the crazy side. Like, it's so funny. Are you PMSing? No, like literally, are you? And are you losing your mind because of it? Because like, seriously, that's what it feels like some days. So I wanted to start talking about that. I want to talk about the importance of that, and the importance of you keeping track, because it's not just like, oh, I need to know when I need tampons. It's like, I need to know, because I go from all extremes, and like for 3 weeks out of the month, high energy, high focus, high turnaround, let's go. And you can probably already tell that my energy compared to the last week is drastically different. And it's like this weight gets lifted off. It's crazy, right? But it's not crazy. Like, it's just literally your body and how it works. And so those are the types of things that we need to start paying attention to. And it's not just so we know when to order tampons next, or so that we can warn our spouse that we're going to be a bitch for the next couple of days. No, it's so that you can protect yourself from making drastic moves in those weeks, from structuring your time better so that you're not in that week making life-changing decisions, right? Because that's where I would be like, no, the world is falling, the sky is falling, we need to get to the king, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And then I'd kind of get out of that gray area, and I'd wake up, and then I'd be like, oh, the sky isn't falling. Why did we just spend a week trying to get to the king? Right? But then the damage already done. So, if you haven't started listening to your body, if you haven't started focusing on yourself as the biggest piece of any puzzle that you'll have, right? Because you interact with all kinds of people. And so you knowing you is the most important work that you could ever do. Let me say that again. You knowing you is the most important work that you will ever do in your life. If you're saying, I don't know if it's worth the time. I don't know that I should listen to a podcast about changing my life. I don't know. You should. Okay? No matter where you are at in life, if you haven't been putting yourself on the table, put yourself back on there. It's Thanksgiving, girl. Eat. Get on the table. Make yourself a part of the conversation. You have to know you in order to be you. Right? And I just spoke on another podcast about women and how we tend to feel insecure in relationships. And I think so many times that's because of this. We get spinning so fast into life and all of a sudden wake up and realize that we don't even know who we are anymore. We commit so much of our time, energy, and focus on other people that we lose ourselves. And so if you're early in on this journey, if like you haven't had all your life happen, take heed, young one. Start figuring yourself out. So many times we just pass that, like, oh no, just find the husband, find the wife, find the relationship, and then I'll find myself. Find yourself first. It will pay major dividends. Figure out what you want. And the beautiful thing about that is it seems the opposite of what you should be doing, right? I should be moving to try to find a spouse. I should be trying to figure this out. I should devote all my time to that. Devote your time to yourself and you will attract the person that you actually want. You'll attract the friends that you actually want. When you know who you are, people can gravitate accordingly. But sometimes we pass that, right? We just go, I should find the person first, then figure myself out with that person. No. Other way around, okay? But if you're late to the game, there's still hope. What I want you to start doing is focusing on you. So that looks like, whatever that looks like for you, if that looks like really diving into your religion studies and how you show up in this world, or does it look like buying for self-love books, right? Not self-help, please. Not self-help, self-love. Okay, personal growth. Those are the things, right? Whatever that looks like for you, if that looks like diving into your Enneagram, I can tell you once you figure out your Enneagram number, the best thing that you can do is search and follow your Enneagram number on Instagram. Trust me, you're bound to find some great content related to your number. It will not serve you wrong. Okay, so maybe it's Enneagram, maybe it's a Strength Finder, maybe it's whatever kind of floats your boat. There are a ton of things out there. What I don't want you to do is find one thing, get confused by it, and then be like, oh, this is all hookery. I don't know. There's so much out there for you to learn about yourself that you owe it to yourself to figure out what fits you. Okay? If it's more religion focused, if it's more spiritual focused, whatever that looks like for you, there's something out there. I guarantee it. You may have to do a little work, but here's the deal. If you don't start incorporating yourself into the work of finding yourself, you're going to continue to feel lost and insecure in relationships and confused about life and where you stand on it. Okay? Search. Find what speaks to you, right? For me, it's not a super religious, not a super spiritual, kind of somewhere beautifully mixed up in the middle way of living and thinking. And it takes work to find that, to find the right people who speak like that and to that, but you can find it. I live a very confusing life. As there's not like one straight way that I think of any one thing. And so that means I don't generally follow extremists on one end or the other, where it's like super religious or super spiritual. I kind of like a good mix up, but that's what I'm saying. Okay? The most important thing that you can do is start focusing on you. And my great thing was that I realized there are probably 2 to 3 days out of the month where I need to grant myself grace, listen to my body instead of fighting it and self-shame spiraling for 2 or 3 days, which then leads to about a week of recovery from the shame that I have showered on myself. Instead of doing that, instead of heading down that path, maybe I need to get better aware of what my body is doing, make sure that I'm focused on listening to her when she's saying these things and not denying that and not hating myself for it. Okay? Self-love, 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 personal growth, personal growth, personal growth. If you are new to this adult thing, this is the most important work that you can do. And it's going to change over time. You're going to hit different dreams, you're going to hit different goals, and you're going to level up and you're going to continue that journey. But more than anything, if you aren't focused on yourself and the things that you want right now, there's a pretty good chance that you'll end up like this gal right here, lost your way 10 years from now. And I want to save you from that. I want you to start focusing on you right now. Okay? All right. that's my great thing. That was like a long great thing. Probably could have spanned on the rest of this conversation. But go ahead and take time today to recognize yourself for your own greatness. Like, come on. Is it even hard? No, you just heard me talk about, I don't know, a span of things. Yours doesn't even have to be that long. Mine just has to take longer because I talk a lot. Come on. Okay, so take time, recognize yourself for your great thing. If it's that you got out of bed today, that is great. Say it out loud. Own it. Own it, own it, own it. Okay? Let's dive in. Today I kind of wanted to talk about you. Yeah, you right there. I'm talking to you. I see you sitting at your desk, sitting on your couch, sitting in your favorite chair, going on a walk. I see you wherever you are. So many times we construct our life and our thinking to think that we are not worthy or valuable. Yeah, go ahead. Take that one in. I know. And what I want you to start wrapping your head around is no matter where you are at in your process, no matter where you are at in your life, you have credibility. And I want you to start writing your credibility around this idea that everybody starts at ground zero. Okay? And some people get like this beautiful kind of two-step start where they kind of had connections or they had this, but I don't want you to base it off of that. Okay? It doesn't matter where they come from, how many steps they had. Everyone starts at zero. Okay? You could be listening to this podcast right now and you could be like, oh, wow, how does she talk for that long? And I don't edit my podcasts, so they come straight out. I talk for a half hour, 5 days a week to you. And do you know how that started? Right? And how so many people start. So like even news anchors that you see on TV, it wasn't like they are Katie Couric. They wake up tomorrow and they're Katie Couric or Diane Sawyer or Barbara Walters, right? That didn't happen. They all started back at, doing crazy outtakes on the side of a street somewhere, right? We all start at zero. So for you to be questioning if you have the right to be doing something is crazy. You absolutely have the right and the credibility to start because everybody starts at zero. And a lot of people just aren't really willing to embrace and encourage themselves past that zero moment, right? It's going to be zero for a while. And you won't get better if you never start. So don't stop yourself before you start. And if you've been questioning, oh, should I do that? Should I start the blog? Should I start the podcast? Should I write the book? Yeah, you should. If you start taking steps now, probably the only thing that's going to bother you from here on out is that you didn't start taking steps 10 years ago. You will never regret starting. Maybe somewhere in the middle when you're like, why do I keep doing this? No one cares. And you're still not going to regret doing it because eventually it's going to pay off. I promise you. I guarantee it will. I guarantee that it will lead to something bigger, that there is a reason that's being called to you. I guarantee it. So if you want to start a food blog or something of that nature, right? Say that you just are a foodie and you love food and you love taking pictures of food and explaining food or whatever that is for you. And if you could do anything in this world, that's what you would do. You'd be a food blogger and you'd talk about food and you'd go to different restaurants. The problem is, so many times we look at like pro food bloggers and we're like, oh, I could never be there. They have 2,000 likes. And I fall into this as well, right? I'll like look on Instagram one day and I'm like, oh, look at that person. They have 100,000 likes. I'll never be a Kardashian. Hey, I'm probably not ever going to be a Kardashian. That's a reality. Okay? But that's not what you should be judging yourself against. You can look at those things for inspiration, but not for competition, because that person is not your competition. I will tell you who your competition is, and I've talked about this before on the podcast. Your competition, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what business you're in, no matter what, your competition is you, period. You shouldn't even look at your competitors. It's a waste of time. It's a waste. Because by the time you catch up to whatever they came up with, you're going to be behind. And you won't even have independent thoughts outside of that because you've gotten so used to building what you're doing off of what they're doing. And so every idea is going to continue to spur from them, which will put you 10 feet behind where they are. Independent thoughts do not come from building yourself or your business solely off of what your competitor is doing. Now, can you look at a competitor and can you go, oh, I could do that better? Or, oh, that's a great idea. This is what I would do different. Yes, that's a great thing to do. But don't look at them and go, oh, well, they have 200 likes. I'll never have that many people that look at this. So I'm just, you know what? Never going to start. Can't do it. I'm not going to have 200 likes tomorrow if I post. Nope. But could you get 2? Probably. There's probably people that just care about you because they care about you. They want to support you. Right? Stop stopping yourself from trying something new. First and foremost, you're never going to know. Right? I could have said for 20 years that I wanted to start a podcast, and I would have never known if I actually wanted to, if I actually was capable of it, if I actually enjoyed doing it, right? And so oftentimes, that's where we stop. Oh, well, if I could have my dream life, I would just blog about food all day. And then you never do it? That seems silly. Because you could do it tomorrow. In fact, you could do it for free tomorrow. In fact, if you wanted to get really good about it and really good at it, you would do it for free tomorrow, the next day, right? And don't go broke going to all these restaurants, but eventually you'll build a following. You will. You'll figure out hashtags. You'll figure out the things that work. But we don't tend to take that conversation past if I could do anything. If you keep dreaming about the same thing, you should start it today. There's so many free platforms. I podcast completely for free every single day. Yep. No editing, no crazy workup. I do all of this for free. And I made that commitment early on because I knew that I could take what I was making in my day job and I could completely invest it in this. And I could hire coaches and I could have like this fast pass. And I knew that I had this privilege and this opportunity to do all these things. And instead of doing that, right, instead of paying for marketing, instead of doing all those things, what I wanted to prove is that it's possible even without privilege. And so I have, to this day, I've been doing this for a year and a half, spent $0 on marketing. So if you found this, it wasn't because of any money that I spent to get you. $0 on marketing, $0 on the biggest investment that I made was this microphone that you hear me on every day. And I think I got that for $38.95, maybe on Amazon. And that was about it. And I just made this commitment that I did pay for my website hosting. I got that on sale for $150. I had made some money to speak at an event, and so I turned around and invested that in a website. So anything that I have spent on building this company came from what I have made doing this work. So that is all in this commitment to prove to myself, to all of my listeners, that you can write down a dream and start chasing it. And if you're going, well, the dream I want costs a lot of money, I guarantee you there's a way to do it for free. If you don't believe me, talk to me about it. You can go to nussink.com and you can drop into that chat box. We'll chat all day long about what you want to do. I don't know. Is there a free way to do it? Sometimes we get so locked in looking at it one singular way that we don't have the ability. See, this isn't edited. You just heard me sneeze. Proof. You already know that it isn't, certainly. Okay, so sometimes we get so singular and so focused on what we want to do that we only look at it this one way, and we only think that there's this one way to do it. And what I want to expand your mind to is to look at all of the options that exist. And maybe money isn't the issue for you. Maybe just possibility is. And even if that's your wall, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your wall. Let's talk about ways to get past that. And let's move forward. Because here I set out. I knew that the mark, the measure, was about 10,000 downloads or streams to ever make money off of my podcast. And so when I realized that that was the mark and the measure, I realized that I was a long ways from that. I'm building a podcast with listenership of 0, building a podcast with money of 0, building a podcast with marketing 0 on purpose, right? And so 10,000 is crazy. And yet we're getting closer every day. And so what I want you to realize is anything that you want to go after is so crazy possible. And that's what this podcast started as. Can you write dreams down that you want to do and just start moving in that direction and do your dreams come true? Still, we're in the second season of me proving that, but the first season was really me starting that journey, me saying that this is what we're going to do and starting to walk there. And so that's like a day-to-day spiral of craziness through that year, through that transition. It's real time. And now season 2 is really me focusing on the next chapter, on where we go from here. We've built up a lot of momentum together, and now we're transitioning that into really chasing after those dreams and making it a full-time commitment and doing this thing. So I want you to find value in whatever it is that's in your head and start working on it. You are always going to be a beginner. You can't start 2 steps ahead of there. You are always going to start at 0. So go. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Let's record intro. Hey, today we just cover a span of topics. You hear me live sneeze? So I'm saying you should definitely listen to this episode. I am not going to lie. It is golden. Okay. In all realness, I do really sneeze. That's a real thing. But more than anything, we talk about the importance of listening to your body, the importance of you and the things that you want to do, and the realization that you're always going to be a beginner. You always have to start at ground zero. And so the best thing that I can tell you today is that you start. Just start. Sometimes we don't even know. Sometimes we're saying dreams that we would never want to chase. But we don't ever figure out whether or not we want to. We just talk about it. Okay? Most of the work that you're going to do is going to be at this ground zero. And you're never going to be at ground zero again. But we have to actually do and not just say. So that's what we're talking about today. We do kind of dive into working from zero. Whether that's $0, whether it's just a dream in your head and your heart, and how you can do that. And definitely, if this inspires you or sparks something and you want to know more about what your avenues are to get started and to get started for free, you can head over to nessinc.com and pop into a chat. I'd love to talk to you about whatever you want to do. Because I started my podcast believing that you didn't have to have a ton of money to start something. And I wanted to prove that you didn't. And so we've built quite a platform here on $0. And so if you have a dream, if you're wondering how to make something happen, let's talk about how you do that for free, how you start whatever it is you want to start for free. What are your options? I'd love to hear about what you have going on and kind of dreams that you have for yourself, and help you propel yourself forward to be that beginner, to be that newcomer, to start at ground zero, but to start more importantly. And so if you're having trouble starting or you're having trouble focusing, reach out. I'd love to talk to you about it. So let's dive in.